Make up your mind. In or out? Mom seemed to always hate it when I lingered in the doorway with the door open so that all the mosquitoes and the heat or the cold or the firebugs could all get in. In or out? Which is it? Do I want to go out or do I want to stay in? Is that why I'm lingering in the doorway? The most sacred part of your home is the door, the gate. It's no accident that Jesus describes himself in one of his famous I am statements as the gate. And that's the exact same word as door. I am the door. I am the door. He is saying to us, I am the door. I am the in-between place between everything that is inside and everything that is outside. I am the door that opens wide to welcome everybody in, and that opens wide to let you out so that you might get out there and love for another day and get hurt all over again. On some days, you would long to come back through that door after a long day out there. And other days, you want to keep it closed as long as possible so you don't have to go back in there where all is not well. I am the door, he says, that keeps everything evil and dangerous out. I am the door you close behind you against the night and latch. I am the door closed so that you feel safe in the night. Yes, Jesus protects us by closing out evil like the door of your home. And like the door of your home, that door also, the same door, swings wide open to welcome us in there, to find our way home to his heart when things get tough, so that we can feel safe again. Right now, the truly safe ones are those behind those locked doors, and they feel it. After shopping and getting gas and picking up food, it can feel so good to get home again and wash those hands and hunker down into something we love with someones we love. You all know I tend to be the one every Sunday that poses a gospel question. A question meant to break open something in us that the wisdom of the gospel might shine some light on for us. It's supposed to get us thinking before we hear the readings. On a physically distanced hike just last Sunday, a dad of some of our college kids asked me if I had any anxiety about the sheltering in place that seems to be beginning to end for all of us now. Did I have any anxiety about this thing ending? At first, I thought he was wondering if I thought it was about being too soon and we were being careless and risking too much to get back out there too quickly, and that people might get sick and they might die because of it. But actually, he was asking me if I found myself anxious about things getting back to normal craziness again. If I had gotten done everything I wanted to get done during this time of sheltering in place. And what maybe I might miss of all this when it's over, if ever. I was so thrown off by the question because I think he really, really, truly opened up something for me in his question that I had not really thought about. You see, he knew some of the goals I had for myself when this quarantine first began. As weird as it was that people were home and not at work, as weird as it was that schools are closed and parents are homeschooling for the first time in their lives, as weird as it was not to be shaking hands or hugging or keeping their lives together, as weird as it was to not be shaking those hands and hugging and keeping physical distance and wearing a mask over my nose and mouth and not be going to restaurants with friends and into theaters, as weird as it was to walk down the middle of Forsyth with no cars coming in either direction during rush hour, what would have been rush hour, I have to say I was vaguely looking forward to time slowing down. Time to clean and organize my room. Time to pray. Time to reach out to friends who I don't normally get to see or talk to. Time to dig into a pile of books I haven't opened yet and articles that I've been eager to read for years now. Time to maybe even learn a language. English. Time to organize my room. And now all this talk of reopening, it did indeed create a sort of flutter in my tummy that kind of said, oh my gosh, I didn't get nearly the things done that I wanted to. I felt that flutter again as I was driving home that night from that hike. And I wondered to myself, am I just going to go back to falling back into my old ways? Or have I used this opportunity to recalibrate and make myself a better person and maybe my family a better family? Have I grown closer to God? What has changed that I actually liked during this crisis that maybe I didn't even know I could like so much? Like more walks, like more scripture, like reading books, reading even a whole book, family time, more quiet time. And did I get the garage cleaned out? Time to reset. Time to reset, because that door swings open, and as soon as the door swings open, all the world rushes in. What might I be about these days? What should I be doing? What could I be doing now that maybe I've waited too long to begin? Which of those might I choose and let myself really enjoy in the meantime, and maybe even before it's too late? I had most of this whole homily written, and I was listening to Charlie Brennan's show on KMOX last Thursday morning, and a friend of his who was in jail for 10 years was being interviewed on the radio. And he was talking about the whole experience of prison, really related to something else, but the whole experience of prison. And when he was convicted, much to his surprise, when he was convicted after a trial fell against his favor, his first week in jail, he was curled up in a fetal position in his prison cell for a whole week until he realized this is not how he wants to spend the next 10 years of his life. And at the suggestion of somebody, he read a few things and he became a teacher in prison. He started teaching economics to other prisoners. And he's still teaching economics now, as a matter of fact, a gift he discovered while he was in prison. And so I sent a text to Charlie Brennan while he was interviewing this guy. I said, Charlie, can you ask this guy, as crazy as it sounds, can you ask this guy if he misses anything about his 10 years in jail? As crazy as that sounds. And he said, well, gosh, I don't miss the physical distancing from my family, where I couldn't touch them, even see them, and a certain limit on the number of letters I could write. But I loved looking back and how I wrote them longhand to dear friends, and the letters I got, I savored. They meant the world to me instead of reading it quickly and getting on to the next thing. And I still teach, but gosh, I had so much time to read and I miss reading. And he went through this whole litany of things he missed about being in prison for 10 years. And I thought, gosh, this is so similar to what's happening to us now. For sure, he wouldn't want to go back to prison. None of us would want to go back to a pandemic. Yet, and the shock of a pandemic was overwhelming and foreboding at first for me, truly. Things were spinning out of control. My life seemed to shrink, actually, and to dissolve as I knew it. Now, as the days pass, sheltering in place has provided a rhythm for more creativity in my life, more time to write homilies, more time to breathe in nature and pause in solitude. And for that, I give thanks. Somebody asked me, how will we look back on all this, Gary? And I wondered to myself, I wonder if it won't be wistfully, almost sentimentally. A time when we were taken care of by so many. Will we always remember how we passed the time these weeks? With whom we passed the time? How will we describe these days to our kids? How will we describe these days to our grandkids someday? What will the history books say about this 100-year epidemic? How will we describe what it was like to move our wedding and then move our wedding again, or to bury someone we loved and wave goodbye from a passing car with no funeral? Or the unparalleled time moms and dads had with their kids that I think will leave them with an impact unparalleled, really. And those long conversations where my friend says to me, how much time we got, Gary? Like the old days. When do you have to leave? I say, don't worry about it, because I'm not either. But now I find myself in the doorway, not all the way wanting to go out and not all the way wanting to stay inside. I'm lingering in the doorway, but I can hear God saying what my mom always said, and sometimes I got God and mom a little confused. In or out, Gary? Are you going out or are you coming in? And my answer is, I'm not sure what I want. I'm anxious to stay in. It hasn't been totally terrible for me at least. Maybe it has for you, and I respect and understand that. But I also don't want to go out quite yet, because I have so many things I felt like I wanted to do with this most unusual time. Yet I'm anxious to get out there, hug and shake hands again and gather at picnics and not have to shout across 6 feet while I'm walking with my friend or a student or sitting at tables with friends in restaurants and getting waited on. And gather here with all of you, the good people in this community where there's so much energy and so much love, and where we come to celebrate faith and walk home with more faith and hope and love. My friends, whether this lasts another week or another 6 months, it might be good in the light of the one who called himself the door to take stock and get about what we had hoped to do. And love. Yes, love the hell out of each other along the days. I want to recommend that sometimes today you pause for a second before the door of your home and simply say to yourself, Jesus is the door. And trace a little cross on the door of your home, your condo, your apartment, Just trace a little cross in that door and hear yourself saying, Jesus is the door. The one who lets us in and lets us out and protects us from the night. Whichever side of the door you are on right now, let's all of us just put up with our difficulties and actually get through this together and even become better people because of it. Trusting that the one who is the door and closes behind us and opens in front of us will always, always be there for us. In or out, Gary? Is it okay to just say, give me a minute?